Nothing was wasted. Three simple words. You may recall last time with our guest, Dr. Keith Amoss from Luxembourg, we spoke about, the concept of what matters most. And Keith and I dug down on that, and we come up with several thoughts, ideas, but sort of having identified. One might say subjectively, what matters most. There's those gaps in between, isn't there? To say, well, nothing was wasted. Anyway, without further ado, Keith, very warm welcome back. And any thoughts on this? Nothing was
Well,
wasted.
thank you for having me back, Paul. I appreciate that. And we're both in our summer attire, as befits the time of the year. Nothing was wasted. Well, I think the philosophers have been arguing about that for 2000 years or more, and many others have popped up along the way. Um, Things that have happened to us, I think anyone watching this will know that things have happened to them in their life which have been positive, very good, very enjoyable, very happy, and they'll have also have had downtimes, perhaps as a result of something which was totally out of their hands, or maybe something they did themselves. So it's a mosaic, isn't it, for all of us in terms of ups and downs. The question being, particularly with the bad experiences, was that bad experience something that you learned from, or was that something that, as you say, was simply a chunk taken out of your life? So I think that's kind of the question that we're trying to debate today, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and I want to bring in another word, Keith. Excuse me, regret. I mean, how many times have we either ourselves or heard somebody else say, "Oh, do you know what? If I had my time again, because I really regret doing X, Y, Z, I don't know, that relationship, that business, that house, whatever it may have been." But that word regret. And that harbors so much destructive, negative energy, doesn't it? Because the bottom line is, when you look at it simply, there's nothing you can do about it. It's past, it's gone, other than, as you allude to, learn from it.
Well, regret it comes along with shame, comes along with anger, comes along with self criticism. That there's a huge number of emotions that come along with regret, and it is a pretty wasted emotion. Not that it's something that you can stop. It's obviously not. It's something that will naturally arise. Um, I think one thing that I tried to tell people in terms of in fact, I was coaching someone today on their career. It's they were doing just that. I wish I'd applied for this other job earlier because a couple of years ago it came up and I wasn't ready for it and the timing wasn't right. And I thought, no, I'm not going to. And I really regret that. Well, the reality is, of course, what wasted time? No, you didn't apply for it. Maybe the circumstances were right. Maybe you weren't ready. Maybe they wouldn't have even taken you for the job. But now the post is available. The job is there. You're going for it this time. So let's concentrate on that. So you're getting into territory there of some certainly life coaches and people, which is basically the power of now. You've got to live for what's happening now and not spend too much of your time looking at what happened in the past because it's gone, as you say, and you can't get it back.
Mm. I often use the analogy of driving along in a vehicle and looking in the rear view mirror, because that is a metaphor for a journey. We're on a journey. And if we spend so much time looking in that rear view mirror, we crash because we're not focusing and looking forward. Conversely, I think just to keep focused on the road ahead, looking sort of, I don't know, 400 yards down the road rather than the immediate what's here and now in front of this vehicle, let's say a car, can be equally as damaging because we're missing what's in front of us directly. And for me, Keith, that's a great way to try and encapsulate the journey that we go on as human beings, to be in that metaphoric car, not to keep looking in the past and the rearview mirror because we will crash. Um, but
Yeah, no, I like that, and I mean, the Stoics used to argue that there was nothing, no time was ever wasted, and what's in the way, so what gets in the way of you, actually, in your car or on your electric moped, whatever the heck it is the way. So whatever you're facing, well, that is the way, that is your journey, and so yeah, it's like here comes something. I'm going to face it. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to go over it, under it, round it, through it, whatever I decide to do. But that is part of my life journey. That is what I'm facing. And again, I like what you're saying because you're basically saying it. You're in the car now. You're driving now. What you do now affects what happens in the future. There's no, you can't sort of, well, you could, but it wouldn't be a particularly great way of driving. You could just say, well, there's an obstacle in front of me. I'll see what happens and cross your arms. I mean, you have some manageable way of either, as I say, avoiding, stopping, whatever. You have something that you can do now, which has a great relation to what is ahead of you.
Yeah, yeah. Is it pushing it too far, Keith, I want to bring in the F word now, faith, to trust the process, which is my own take upon it, that okay, let's continue that car metaphor, that vehicle metaphor. We're on this journey to, I don't know, say London to Edinburgh, doesn't matter where it is, and the car breaks down, or one of the motorways is shut on our designated route because of an accident or what have you. And so the time and the schedule, the projection of what we think should happen isn't happening. And so, and I offer this as a suggestion, not saying that it's, the answer or any answer for that matter, but okay, I need to be in Edinburgh for 5. It's 4 o'clock already, and I'm only still in, I don't know, Northampton, so I'm not going to make it, but that's okay because this is a way of telling me, call it nature, call it spirit, call it force, call it whatever you want, of saying, there's other plans. There is a bigger plan. And I know that's a really big step into the unknown. In a world that we live in where, pragmatism rules okay. Any thoughts on that? Is that a step too
Well,
far?
no, it's not a step too far. It's really a question of whether you are of the mind that whatever happens was meant to happen.
Hmm.
So you weren't, you've heard tales of this before, of people saying, after a plane crash, I was meant to take that flight, and then something happened. I couldn't find my passport, and I was hunting high and low, and I didn't take the flight. Look, I didn't get that flight. I didn't die, but the plane crashed. It was meant to happen. I was meant to have lost my passport. So, you can go down that route and say that certain negative or certain annoying things will happen to you, and you're stuck, as you say, somewhere halfway on the road between your departure and your destination with a broken down car. You can have that philosophy, but maybe this is what's supposed to happen because something worse might have happened. On the other hand, you can be very pragmatic and very, shall I say, probably like the majority of us, very annoyed about what has happened and how you're now wasting your time and not getting to do what you were supposed to be doing. And when this whole idea of is any life experience wasted? Well, bottom line for me is yes, if you didn't learn anything from it.
Hmm.
Now, if you learned from it, damn, I should have checked the car before I set off. Damn, I should have checked if there was if there was petrol in the car. I should have checked whatever. Should have looked at my route map. If you've learned something from it, should have set off earlier. Should have gone the night before. If you learned something from it, then definitely it was worthwhile, wasn't it? The experience was
Yeah.
100% worthwhile. If you
Yeah.
plow through, keep doing the same mistakes, never learning, keep being late for meetings, keep being late for appointments, you haven't learned anything. And that's when I would argue that then your experience has been somewhat wasted because nothing was learned.
Yeah. Let me continue this journey metaphor, Keith, of, assuming we are the driver behind the proverbial wheel of said car, lorry, motorbike, whatever, it doesn't matter. A lot of that, for me, and experience has taught me this, so it's not some nice fancy theory or philosophy, but a lot of the way that I reach my intended destination is down to the energy that I'm in at that moment in time. rather than, I'm angry. Oh, do you know what, Keith? There's bound to be a problem because the M1's always, I mean, if I wish I had a euro for every time I'd heard about how bad the A1 is as a road. The A1's a really bad road. Oh, you don't want to go up north on the A1. There's always an accident. Da, 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 da. Well, I don't want to kind of fly off too much into self-fulfilling prophecies, but just be careful about the story we tell ourselves. So I think if we're in this kind of lighter energy, and this is heading somewhere because, well, I'll go straight for it. How much we can embrace and dance with humor in our life generally, it can have and does have a knock-on effect to how we take subsequent journeys. Humor is, I mean, I can't believe you and I haven't done a podcast on humor alone. I really can't, particularly with our respective wits or otherwise around the beautiful game. But let's not go down that rabbit hole, Keith.
I'm not going to talk about cricket with you.
Well, I was referring to basketball, but anyway.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I mean that. Oh, crikey! It's such a big one, isn't it? It's such a big one. You've got one best friend in the world, and this best friend never leaves you, always around, and can always make you have the best out of a bad circumstance. And that best friend is yourself.
Yeah,
And positive. We talk about this. This positive psychology, positive energy, all these good things are there's definitely something in that. Lots of athletes who prepare for big races, they visualize it, they imagine they're winning, they imagine all the other runners way behind them. It helps. Thinking negatively it's natural, a natural thought. If I think I'm going to say something, I mustn't say that, I mustn't say that, I mustn't say that, that would be wrong. If I think too hard about what could go wrong, almost invariably it does.
yeah.
I had an experience once with a colleague at work who introduced me to his wife, and it was very minor, but she'd had a small nose operation. And so she had a small plaster on her nose. So I didn't want to mention that, of course. Why would you? And as we got talking, we were in a shopping centre. And I said to her, "Oh, have you just come here for a nose around?" You see? So sometimes the very thing you try not to say, the very negative or something which you're trying to avoid is what is going to surface. By inference, therefore, if you're thinking positively, if you're always thinking, I'm going to find that car parking space, I know I'm going to get a car parking space, there will be many around who will say to you, well, you know what? You're going to find the car parking space.
Yeah. Do we take ourselves too seriously, do you think, as human beings?
It's a damn serious world, Paul. It's an
Mm,
incredibly negative, serious world at the moment. It's very difficult to avoid it. And we're surrounded by people that take themselves incredibly serious. I mean, the politicians, we won't get into politics, but just look at the state of them, and some of them are take themselves so seriously, particularly in the North American part of this world, and believe they are the answer to everything, when of course they're not. But I think that brings us down. I think seeing people put themselves up on a pedestal is one of the most deeply sad things you can view. When somebody puts themselves up, how great they are, how wonderful they are, how bright they are, how clever they are. To watch somebody do that is very, very depressing, I think. Seeing humility, on the other hand, seeing somebody who is prepared to, they know they're good, but they just carry on with it, they get on with it, is far more impressive, I think.
On that note, Keith, I will revert back to our old friend football. My mind goes back to the Clough era when he took over at Nottingham Forest in 1975, and obviously in the late 70s, they started to challenge the mighty, mighty Liverpool.
Mm.
Invariably got drawn against them in domestic ties, played them in the league, played them in European ties. And there was this huge media us versus them. Oh, you're taking on the mighty Liverpool, Brian. This used to say to Clough, and he said something. Keith, which I've never forgotten. For me, yet again, is a great metaphor for life, and it speaks directly to what we've just been saying, and what you've just been saying there about how dark and negative and challenging the opposition is. And this commentator, I think it was Brian Moore at the time, he said, "Well, Brian, this, that, and the other, the mighty Liverpool," and he said, "They don't care." We focus on who we are and what we do. We don't care about what's outside of us because we can't control that, but we can control us. You watch us and don't be stupid enough to write us off. And I've never forgot that, Keith.
No. And that is absolutely core and central, I think, to many people who in this world suffer from lack of self-esteem, worry, concern. You cannot do anything about the other person. You cannot change their values, their views, their personality, the way they have been towards you. You can do everything about how you react to it.
Yeah.
So, so that's it. And many people spend their time, I wish they'd change. I wish they wouldn't do that. Well, they are like that. That is what you've got in front of you. Now, if you choose, I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt was saying that, you can't be upset by somebody if you don't let them upset you. And there's so much truth in that.
Mm,
Um, Hard to do because we're reactive. Humans are reactive. I mean, if somebody swears and shouts at you, your automatic response is to shout and swear back. But a more reflective view would be, why is that person so upset? What's wrong with them? Maybe something's going on in their life. Maybe they are suffering, and I can't do anything about how they are. I can definitely react to that in a calm way, not let it bother me. So that's really key what you said. You're up against opposition. You're in a 100-meter race. Usain Bolt is running next to you. It's like, why the hell am I here? What's the point? No point. Well, the point is you run your best race.
yeah.
And guess what? Usain Bolt didn't tie his left boot up properly and trips over his shoelace after 10 meters. So that is everything. That is everything. So your reaction to how other people are to you or how other events are happening to you. That's the most important thing. And the reality of humans is, in my opinion, my experience was that we tend to match them. Somebody comes to us with a calm presence, you tend to be calm with them. Why would you not be calm? Somebody's polite with us, you tend to be polite with them. Somebody's angry, aggressive towards us, well, you tend to rise up. So so I think that's a very key lesson, and Clough had it right in terms of the football, but I think it as a metaphor and a way to be as a human, I think that's really life in a nutshell. You can do nothing about the others. You can do everything about your reaction to them.
Mm. I was just smiling as you was talking there, Keith. You're talking about the calming effect. I think it was Tony Robbins that said we become the sum of the five people that we spend most time with.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a saying on that. Surprisingly, I seem to have a saying for everything, but yeah, most of it. Well, let people decide what it is. If you stay in the barbers long enough, you'll have your hair cut. So just be careful which barbers you go to, or and that speaks to that sort of five-person metaphor that Robbins alludes to.
Mm.
Because we do have choices, Keith, don't we? And that brings me to my next kind of question, stroke dilemma. Do we let go of people then that are, as we perceive it, bringing us down?
Oh, absolutely. Because when I talk about you can do nothing about them, but you can do everything about your reaction to it. If you find that somebody is very negative, not boosting you, not helping you, bringing your spirit down, you can do something about that. It's your reaction, and your reaction will be, well, you're not my type of person. I'm really sorry. This is not doing me much good here. I really have to move and out of your orbit. And that's
Mm,
hard because again, many of us, most of us probably, we want to be liked. We want to please. And we think that because somebody's actions towards us are bringing us down, well, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. I need to please them. I mean, I'm obviously doing something wrong. No, you're not. You're doing nothing wrong at all. They are simply a negative energy to your positive. And move around other positive people and you'll see the difference without doubt. And obviously you spent a lot of time in the barbers. I can see that, Paul. But I won't make any jokes about it.
Although there was a little subliminal one there, was there not?
Oh, slightly, just slightly.
Yeah. Okay. Let me take that a stage further then, Keith. You know the old cliche of blood is thicker than water,
Mm,
family comes first.
mm,
So let's imagine a scenario where we've got a family member. He or she is bringing us down.
mm,
There's so much conditioning, isn't there, around, oh, where's your family loyalty? For me, Keith, personally, my family is spread around the world and it's not biological, it's energetic. And that's
mm,
why I personally find it easier to let go of this. Well, your cousin, your mother's sister's um, child. No, 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 no. I've got 14 cousins. I haven't spoken to one of them over a lifetime because we're just not aligned in any way, shape, or form. And we never have been. And so I let them go at an early age, at a time where I didn't even realize what I was doing. I just knew that we weren't, I don't know, the modern day, we didn't vibe, we didn't hit it off, we couldn't connect.
mm. It's a harder one. It's a harder one. Because there's something genetically in them that's a part of you and a part of you that's in them. And you can choose your friends. You can't choose your relatives in a sense. Um, but if you talk about love and like, there can be a big difference. There can
Mm,
be a huge difference between the two. You can love somebody and not like them at all, not want to spend time with them. Um, you can like someone, obviously, but not love them. And I think that that's kind of enmeshed in this, that it's like, well, that's family, that's blood. You have to love them, but you might not like them at all. You might not have much to do with them. You might not like their values, anything. So a really, really hard one that is, Paul. And and definitely, how do you feel? A mother that has a child who commits a terrible crime. Does that mother stop loving them?
mm.
It's really hard. I do know what you mean though. If you've got loyalty from people and you get on with them and you can laugh with them, if you can trust them, if you have something in common with them, that's wonderful. But I think that many people would argue with what you've said and say, well, no matter what they do, I'm afraid they're family and I just have to support them. So I think
I
that's
buy the
interesting.
Sorry, I buy the loyalty angle, Keith, definitely, irrespective of what they've done. I buy that. Don't agree with it, maybe whatever the context is, but I do buy that loyalty. What I don't buy, whether it's family, friends, Romans or countrymen or whatever it is that somebody's in so much, and I'm not saying because he or she is having a temporary or relatively temporary challenge that's bringing them down, but they're just so negative and destructive and toxic. And I refuse, and I don't care who they are, because I spent decades in that space. And so that's why I've got such strong views and awareness on the
I
boundaries
understand that.
now.
Totally
You know,
understand that. Again, that's an example of you deciding that you can do something about it, and it's your reaction. And your reaction is that to protect yourself, to not be around people that are bringing you down, you decided, well, I'm not going to. And but there will be many people probably watching this who say, well, cousin John is an absolute bad one, and yet he's my cousin, and I have to see him at births, weddings, and funerals, and that's it, and I have to be civil to him.
mm.
So really, really deep one that is. That's a really deep one. I don't know what philosophers would say. I don't know what religious, I suppose a religious approach, whether it was from Islam or from Christianity or any of the other religions, would be, well, you just have to love the person as your brother, and that's it. But my gosh, that's hard.
Yeah. As you've alluded to earlier, though, Keith, there's a difference between that love and like, isn't there? You can still love somebody but detach from them.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You
I
know,
think back. I think back to kind of the theme, though, is any life experience wasted? there's an experience, it happens to be someone close, it happens to be family. It's an experience that you have that is not a positive one. You've learned from it.
Mm.
You now value people who you can trust. You now value people who you can relate to. You now value people who give you something positive. So you have learned from that experience, and that's the point. So probably it's not wasted to have had the experience of friends or relatives that are really bad and have let you down because it's you've learned something.
Tell you what has been wasted, Keith, and I haven't learnt. There's a lady, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine here in Spain called Victoria, and she listens to her and she loves our conversations. However, however, when are you two guys ever going to stop talking about football? So I promised her, I said,
I
one of these
don't talk
days.
about it, Paul. I just sympathize with your unfortunately biased and very incorrect beliefs of the team you support. That's not discussing it. That's just a fact.
Yeah, very diplomatic. If only it was true. If only it was true. So anyway, Victoria, I
Oh,
will
hello,
accept
Victoria, by the
full
way.
responsibility for bringing in the F word on this occasion. I had every intention of not doing so, but I failed miserably. Is it a regret? No. Was it wasted? Hope not, because Keith's smiling and I'm
Yeah, you
smiling.
are.
I don't think,
You've learned
you
something
know,
from it. You've
yeah.
learned something from it. You can always raise a laugh when you talk about Nottingham Forest. That's what we've learned.
Did I ever tell you, Keith, we've got two pips on our shirt that says we've oh no, no, I won't. I won't bring that old chestnut out. Anyway, any other
Right.
thoughts, Keith, around
Um,
nothing was wasted?
well, look, I know that people who are listening to this, I know that some of them will think that they have wasted some of their time, and it's not for me. It's for them to judge, as I say, whether that was something that was a chunk taken out of their life or something which was had to happen. It was an experience, and it was something that they've gained at least something from. Tragedy. Who wants tragedy in their life? Nobody. Nobody wants to go through it at all. We don't want like it. And unfortunately, people do pass on in sometimes in very tragic circumstances. People get sick. We know all this. We know this. And you would say, well, we don't need that. Why do we have that in our lives? I'm not learning anything from that. What am I learning? Well, perhaps not. Perhaps there are some things which really we would just rather we could kind of ring fence and never have been a part of. But I suppose that my last kind of words and conclusions are that ultimately I've repeated it many times today, but if you gain something from it, if you've learned something, if it's an experience that has benefited you because you now take a different view on things, then it was worthwhile.
Yeah, and that kind of encapsulates what we spoke about previously, Keith, doesn't it? About what matters most,
Yeah.
because I think no matter what particular angle or even sub-angle we come from, invariably we can end up with that conclusion that you've just said,
Yeah.
and that's not a bad not only philosophy, but it's not a bad way to live our life, is it?
It's not a bad way to live our life, and you could really investigate that by saying, as a result of that experience, who did I become?
Mm.
And if your character has changed, if you feel that it's positive, well, God, it was not wasted at all, was it?
Pause for thought. Pause for thought. I'm going to leave it there, Keith. I
Thank you,
think we've
Paul.
covered quite a bit of ground there. We've kind of
We did.
danced all over the place, thick and
We did.
fast,
Yep.
without getting bogged down on any one particular element for too long. I want to ask you one final question
Mm.
before we close out. But before we do, how can people reach out to you, Keith, find out more about you, what you do, who you are, etc.?
That's very kind, Paul. Thank you. Yeah. So Keith Amos, that's with a double S.com. That's where you'll find me. You'll find the website, and you'll also see me on LinkedIn. Happy to link in with anybody. And I'm a career coach, so helping you to discover what you really want to do with your life is what I like to say I do. It's not me telling you, definitely not, but it's helping you to untangle the spaghetti because we all have different thoughts. Why am I not doing this? Why should I do that? What would I get from it? Why don't I do this? So we have that. So that's what I help people to do through coaching.
Okay. So my question is this, Keith, very briefly. So as I've alluded two or three times, we did the previous one. What matters most? Three words. This one, nothing was wasted? Question mark. Three words. If you was to set a question, Keith, to the world, I'm not going to sort of say three words. Set a question to the world that would sort of stop and make us think about, give us some context to our lives. What would those three words of wisdom be?
Oof. See, there's no preparation for this, is there?
No,
I believe it.
in the
I believe
moment.
three words would be something like adapt, accept, survive.
Okay, like it, like it. That's as you say, Keith. It's very much in the moment. There was no preparation. That is very aligned with my own attitude towards, and I think it's a bit military influenced. Arrive, assess, adapt, achieve,
Oh,
and then move on,
yeah,
advance.
very good. Very
Anyway,
good.
our viewers, our listeners, Keith, they'll make their own mind up on
They
matters
will.
various,
They will.
and
They will. And
let's
by
leave
the
it there.
way,
I'm going to,
before we leave, can you make sure you
yeah.
get a decent car so you don't break down on the A1? It's fed up with coming out to pick you up.